Hello, prospective watchers and listeners. You know, we are dual platforms nowadays. We are your hosts, Martina and
Seth.
yes, we welcome you back. I think this is our third installment, our third video that we're, basically being plus size in America and what that means, and how that's influenced, Lisette and I, throughout our youth and continues to, and our lived experience. We spent like the first video, we were just kind of talking. We were just just talking about just some general things. And then like now we're starting to get a little bit more specific. Our second video, we kind of kicked off talking about like social media, entertainment. But this one, I want to go more into the fashion industry. All of us know about couture. And so that's what we're going to talk about, and how oftentimes plus size ladies and gents too, I don't know, are left out of, they don't want us on the runway. So what's that, I'm thinking, because I think I remember last time we were talking a little bit about Rihanna and how she's really the only one that I've seen who really kind of has every sort of representation. You don't really see that. At least I haven't seen it with some of the other fashion industries. And maybe, even what I know Beyonce has, what the Ivy Park or that collection.
Yes.
But I don't know if I feel like she probably has had representation, but I'm not quite sure. But I know for sure Rihanna has.
Yeah.
Savage fashion shows. But she's really the only one that I think where, big people, women in general, are represented. That's all I think.
Yeah, I can't think of any other sort of, whether it's a celebrity with a clothesline or a designer that includes plus size.
Not really, at all. Look at it. We are literally drawing a blank.
I'm trying to think over here.
No.
Outside of like the plus size lines that are out there.
The Lane Bryants and Torres and
I don't really. That's sad.
That is sad. I'm over here really thinking about that. Like, wait.
I'm over here like there has to be somebody.
Oh, I know. And again, I think we might have touched on this a little bit in the second video where we talked about like oftentimes, I say oftentimes, but a few times we might have seen or heard about in some of the high-end fashion shows, they consider these women to be plus size.
Yep.
Really like a size 10 or a 12, 14. They're, that's the average size. That's not plus size, but it's considered plus size by that industry. So it's so interesting. But it's like, even those women look a certain way. Like they have that hourglass. Most of them have the hourglass figure. They don't, you don't see the arms are shaking. Hello. You don't
the
see
ones with the belly.
But you don't really see that. And so, they might, have a little bit, but you don't really see that. You just see women who are like,
yeah. And it's such a, like I said, like it makes me so sad, but also upset that we can't think of any.
We really can't. We spent a few minutes thinking about this. But if anybody listening or watching this of high end, like we're talking about the high ends, like
the high ends,
not not high end, just high end. Anybody think of high end?
When you think about fashion, you think like New York Fashion Week.
Yeah, like Vogue, those sort of fashion houses. But yeah, if anybody knows of any, or even some houses maybe who are starting plus size lines, I don't know. That would be interesting to know too, because honestly, we can't think of any off the top of our head right now.
Because when I think plus size, I'm like Lane Bryant, Torrid.
Wait, where else?
Macy's used to carry a line called City Chic. Chic. Okay. And they have a website. They have some decent uh clothes, and
You
some of
know,
them are questionable.
I was thinking when we were talking about this, I was texting you last week and I was like, I ain't gonna call out nobody, but it was not great representation. And I was like, this is what they have us, meaning us bigger girls, us fat girls, however you define yourself, out here wearing. It's not cute. I can't even describe some of it, but it was just ugly. It's just ugly. Like we can't have style. Like we have style. We can be chic, we can
Yes.
follow Oscar de la Renta. Like we like that too. But
Like,
this
why can't they like design clothes with our bodies in mind?
yeah, and they don't. They
Like, that's what boggles my mind. Like, there's so many different body types, and I'm like, the fact that you can't design it for it to look good on like bigger women is beyond me. Because even when I go to Target and I go to their plus size section, like it all, like I've said it before, it looks like a potato sack. Like it's just, and they're like, well, you could put a belt, and you have to do all the work to make it look good on you.
the waist, yes, you're
And
not.
I'm like, no, you can't actually do that because you do it on the skinny people clothes.
It's a good point you mentioned that. As much as I love a wrap dress, thank you, DVF, for that. Like, she invented the wrap dress. I love the wrap dress, but that's like a classic you'll see with like,
Mm-hmm.
and like maybe I don't want a wrap dress sometimes, like, but that's one I will see. I will see a wrap dress.
A wrap dress, a wrap blouse, you see a lot.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do have the wrap blouses now. Yes. Yes.
And you see a bunch of those for plus size. Like they're and like I like one, but I'm like, I don't want my closet full of just
of wrap dresses and blouses. Like, that's cute every now and then, but like my whole that's not really my jam. So I'm just like, it's just
a plain, even just like a shirt like this, like
yeah.
It just doesn't ever sit right. Like it never falls right.
It doesn't. And I don't
like
it brings me to think like when these designers are, creating their sketches, and I guess, working with their seamstress and their team, I don't think in that brainstorming design session is they just, they have have that typical body type that we see. And so, again, like I said, it's really mind boggling because there are women out here who will pay good money, who love designer wear.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, as far as clothing, it really doesn't come in their size. I mean, honestly, I don't know in terms of high fashion because that's out of my budget right now. I am not there yet. I'm really not quite sure what sizes. And even when you start getting into like high fashions, can you just go into like a Carolina Herrera store and get a ball gown? Or do you have to like, you gotta, know this person and they gotta make a special appointment for you to come and get you? I'm just wondering like all these things because, you hear these stories about how celebrities and, people of royal families and other people with money, they have like these little private sessions. Like they're not really out with like the regular Joe.
Yeah.
They, they maybe will go to their home or they set up like a private session at the store. But even then, I wonder, like, I'm just thinking in general, when you think of these high-end clothing, what size do they really go into? I know it ain't our size. So I'm just wondering in terms like, what size do they normally go up to? I feel maybe a 6. I don't know. This is me guessing. I don't know.
I don't know. You made me think about when I was younger, we were kids, the clothes selection was so limited. Mm-hmm. When it came to being, a bigger girl. Mm-hmm. And I remember at some point, I don't remember how old I was, they started extending the sizes. They started making, bigger girl sizes, and then same for boys. But I remember it never looking the same as the other, as like the normal sizes, quote unquote. Like it was always like I never really liked it because it was just like
It didn't look right.
and I'm like, it just is not even like the same. Like it was like they were intentionally wanting us to get made fun of.
That's so, you know, and I do remember those instances because I remember like start seeing like once you get into the double digits, you know, even if you the size 10, it's kind of baffling. But yeah, you're right. Even if I think, you know, and sometimes I would notice it with like certain things like dresses or shirts, that sometimes the material would just look funky. And I'm like, wow, you can use the same material. You might have to use a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's the same design.
But it was just, I remember just being so, I remember first being excited because I was like, oh my God, finally, like it's in the girls section I can shop in. And then I'm like, oh, but it's not pretty. Like it just, it didn't make you feel pretty. And I, once in a while, because, you know, I have friends that have kids or like family members that have kids, and sometimes we'll just kind of go and buy like you're trying to find clothes to give to a baby or something, and I'll like meander off to like the bigger girls. Like, just I'm always curious, and a lot of it is still the same. Like you don't see, and I'm like, it's so unfortunate that the industry is still the same even years later, and you don't see the same selection. For, you know, bigger girls. Like you just don't see it. Like it becomes a whole different wardrobe basically. I'm like, why can't I find this really cute shirt on this side of the store? Like why isn't it just the same?
You know, instead of something that looks like you about to go running down like a meadow or something, like, you know, it's just, I don't know who.
I'm gonna go wash my clothes in the river.
I don't know who decided that was the type of thing that big girls want to see. Like it's not, like I said, it's like, you know how we got cottage core now? It's not even that cute. Like cottage core is cute. It's ugly. Like you said, it's shapeless and it's these patterns that are ugly. And then like
patterns. Oh my gosh.
The pattern, and then you'll see like a lot of striped stuff, and which I don't know why stripes necessarily, because if you are a larger girl, stripes may not work for you. But I've seen
especially when they're horizontal stripes.
Like vertical,
like vertical I can go with, but every one for a plus size is horizontal. I don't understand. It's like, I'm telling you, they're intentionally wanting us to look bad.
Like they want us to look bad. That's such a good point, because it's just like this ugly non-cottage core horizontal lines thing. Is it called paisley? Is that what those? It's paisley.
I think it is paisley. Like, why is it that all plus, like at any plus size section you go, you'll find those blouses that are these paisley, like just ridiculous design pattern, and then the blouse is just not. Oh, I get so upset.
I still see that from all of them, pretty much all the stores.
Yeah, all of them have it.
Even the ones that cater to larger women, they have that. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, and you know, I follow a number of plus size bigger women, like on Instagram and TikTok, and some of these women I hear have like beautiful fashion. I'm just like, where are y'all shopping?
Can I go?
I know, can I go? Because like, and I know, although I have seen probably a mixture between Instagram and TikTok, a lot of these women have like, you know, created like their own.
Yeah.
So, you know, then they start to sell it. So then, you know, it kind of gets a little bit more specialized, but it's like, things have to be so specialized. You just can't find it in like a regular department store, or, you know, and it's just.
Like, I thought about like, I wish I knew how to sew and do all this, because I definitely, there's moments in time like sometimes I don't find anything. Like I go to store and I just don't find anything, because I have something in mind that I saw that was, you know, at the rack for the normal sizes.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh my God, that would look beautiful on me. I just need to find it on my size. And I go to like the Lane Bryans and the Torrids and like the plus size section of, you know, the Macy's and the JC Penney's and all this stuff. And it's like, no, there's nothing comparable to what I saw. And you leave sad, you leave frustrated, you get depressed because you're like, the whole cycle of most fat women that go through when they can't find something, like that's what, you know, you go through. You're like,
Gotta
oh,
make you go home and eat a whole sleeve of cookies because
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna go home, eat me some ice cream just to make me feel better. Because
that will make you. It's so true. But it's just like it is almost in a way, and I don't know. I don't know if some companies, some brands intentionally do that because you know they only want to cater to certain people. Just
yeah,
like some of this high fashion, they don't want to cater to the everyday folks. Like, and they are like that's intentionally their brand. Like some designers have come out and said that their brand is not for everyday. This is for very wealthy, oftentimes skinny mini people. Like that's the audience that they are catering to. They're not catering for
but
everybody.
it's so crazy that like this idea, because you usually think of something, this idea of wealth and skinny, like it's the same thing. And I'm like,
They equate the two together. Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, so wealthy and fat is not a thing?
You know, there used to be this thing. Okay, like you know how much like well, I don't know if you know, but yeah, you might know like my love of like I have like my top ladies who are like my inspiration. So it's like Audrey Hepburn, Grace
You
Kelly,
mentioned, yeah.
Jackie Kennedy, Marilyn, throw her up in there too, and Michelle Obama. Okay. So that's like my ladies right there. But to kind of frame this, you know, of course, you know, the things between Jackie and Marilyn and all that happened with the Kennedys. And I was watching a documentary, this is probably years ago. I love documentaries and stuff like that, especially about old timey, long like years ago.
Yeah.
And I was something, and I'm paraphrasing it, but it was like, well, with like Jackie, she was, you know, one who had a smaller bust. Marilyn
Mhm.
did not have. She had a very large bust. And they were
Yeah.
making a correlation. It's like oftentimes you see wealthy men, women they date have flatter chests. They have a smaller bust. And you see men who are not as wealthy, women that they date often have larger busts. And so when you're talking about this equating wealth to skinniness, it is kind of in a way because
Yeah.
that's where you look at, even if you look at some of the TV shows that we watch
Yeah.
now, even look at some of these reality shows. I mean, a lot of the women on there, I mean, obviously they are skinny and they are oftentimes like, they have smaller breasts. They're not like overly large breasts, you know, like they're just
Mhm.
not. And I just found that very interesting when you said that because it is often that time when you see people of higher status, they often equate that too. That's really good.
Yeah. So it's just fascinating to me, like to just kind of think about that right now and really see just, I mean, you see the patriarchy, you see the white supremacy kind of in that. And if you followed us, we
Yeah.
always kind of
Definitely.
take it back to it. Because it is like I've been wondering and I've been thinking about since we started sort of this series of like how much has capitalism, how much has the patriarchy, how much this idea of white is better has fed into this idea of fashion and this thought of, you know, fat is bad. And I know we talked about it in another episode where we kind of saw where it you know, it stems into racism, but just the continuedness and it, you know, and it doesn't really have a color because, you know, fat bodies come in all colors, you know, and it's like, man, I mean, it really just looks when you look at the capitalistic thing of it all, and you look at the wealth, and you look at who is always sort of pictured as wealthy, it's always these skinny people that are wealthy.
People can't be like, oh my God, they just can't. They can't be like.
And then if they are, if you see anybody that doesn't, that's like outside of that mold, that, you know, mold that they have, they're like, oh, it's new money, or it's like, oh, they're like trash wealthy would probably the best equation for me right now.
Oh my God. And also too, when you think about kind of that, like you said, the new money versus the old money, which is very different. We didn't even got into that. But
Yeah.
the old money, if you notice, a lot of the patriarchs of those families are big, like some of them are often larger size men, but all of their wives, maybe their daughters, are like these skinny women. But like oftentimes the patriarch of that family is like some big dude. And I'm like,
That's the patriarchy right there. It just falls into place.
there's the patriarchy. But I will, honey, you got the money. People are willing to do just about anything, which is
they really are.
Yeah, it can be very unfortunate, but that is a good point, because I think how, I always go back to this example. I mean, you look at Victoria's Secret, it was created by a man because he didn't feel comfortable shopping for lingerie at, like, I guess, a regular store. So he created Victoria's Secret. It was created by a man. It's not surprising, but surprising. But it's often like kind of like upholding our ideas of what a woman, regardless of her race, should look like. I mean, it is based on the patriarchy, which in turn is based on how we go about business and fashion. Yeah. It goes into the whole capitalist. It all feeds into each other. Although I bet some people try to challenge us about that, but it does. It all feeds into each other. Because if you look at, it just makes me think of like, even all the women we see in fashion, they just all kind of look the same. They, they look the same.
They look the same. And I'm like, there's, but and then it feeds into this idea of like controlling women.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
As we're recording this, Texas just passed their abortion law. We won't get into it because that's a whole other episode. But this continued theme of controlling women, of controlling women's bodies, it feeds into this, this whole conversation of like being plus size, because it's like, okay, we won't create or have beautiful clothing for plus size because and it's, you always see it more for women. Men, I don't hear a lot about like this conversation happening with men. Like there isn't this sort of kind of thing like, oh, it's a teddy bear, like he's a teddy bear kind of conversation.
Fashion is not really it's not like women's fashion. It's very very different.
And this whole idea of like men can get their suits tailored, like there's this whole other thing to do it, and then it's like, so you continue it by like saying like, well, we won't create it, and if we do, we're going to create these ugly pieces that no woman would really want to wear, because there's still this idea that we can control you. We can sort of dictate what you should be wearing, and it's like, it's unfortunate, because I'm like, it just makes me upset, because I'm like, why can't we do it? And then when you do have women who decide to say they want to create a clothesline, it becomes so expensive. Like it's not attainable to the everyday woman who, whose dollars are not meant for, boutique clothing. Like it's just, I can't always afford. Like I see some really cute things that pop up on my Instagram, on my TikTok, women who have started their businesses, and I'm like, oh, let me go see. And I'm like, oh, you want $80
for a dress? That's
or a top? It's a cute top, beautiful, and I know that you're charging for the work. I'm like, I'm not, but it's not attainable. Like it's just, I'm like, I need like the Target version price point of it, because like I just can't afford $80, and then the whole outfit's gonna cost you $300, and I'm like, yeah, that's not. So it's
but finish. No,
go ahead.
I would say because it's an area where supply and demand doesn't match up at all. Not in this, not in the plus size women fashion. the
Yep.
supply and demand, because we have, as we all know, there are more larger women or women past size 10 and 12,
Yes.
15 than we have of these skinny mini girls. It's just women average sizes are between like 10 and 14. And so it's like, I don't, again, I think that whole thing about controlling, and I think controlling the narrative, because it's like, if you look at the women here, and we're just talking about the United States.
Yeah.
Here, the majority of women are larger, but
Yeah.
the industry, even outside of high fashion, just your regular department stores, they don't cater to that group of women. And so it's like, as much as supply and demand runs everything, that is really the supply is not being met by the demand. Not to me.
You reminded me of like I think I sent you the article about like how Old Navy was going to incorporate their sizes, like just they're not going to have a separate plus size section. It's all just going to be incorporated. And I was like, that's great. Like, that's awesome. That's just like a small stepping stone into this larger sort of issue, this bigger thing. Cause I'm like, is it going to cost the same?
Yeah, that is a good point. Because have you seen the commercial that they've done with
I haven't seen it.
There's a comedian. Oh gosh, what's her name? She's and she's on SNL. She has that show on Hulu called Shrill, which is a good show, by the way. Addie Bryant. I mean, I think that's her name. But she is a comedian, and she's in like the new Old Navy commercials where they're showing like women of every Color and every size, and she's like the main focal point because she is a larger woman. They're doing like a little cute dance and stuff, and they're showcasing like all the women wearing the Old Navy jeans and how they fit every size. But yeah, it is right. I mean, that's just I don't know. And then like when these things happen, like if people want to make it like, oh, it's such a big thing, like, oh my God. And I'm like, this shouldn't take people by surprise. Like it just shouldn't, like, it should, like, the fact that I don't know, to me it's just it should not take people by surprise. It should not be this big thing that we're like so excited to celebrate, because it's like, why? Like,
it should have been normal from the get-go.
It should be normal.
I didn't have to go to a completely other side of the store to find my sizes.
And I don't know who came up, because again, like especially like department stores, what do they have? Like, and I haven't been in a department store in a long time, so you can have to update me if this is wrong. What is it, like Mrs. Petite?
Petites.
Women. It was like so many different categories of clothing. I don't know who the fuck came up with that. Like, I get it. I guess
it was a man.
It probably was a fucking man. Fucking man. It probably was.
Probably was. I mean, if we're wrong, someone correct us.
Yeah, like, please correct us. Who decided this layout? Again, I'm not a man. I don't shop in men's clothing, so I don't know the layout of that. Could be the same, but that's not what we're talking about. But particularly for women in general, it's just like the misses and the petites and all this type of stuff. And I'm like,
then the women's section, the plus size, it's hidden. You can never find it.
You don't see. It's
hidden somewhere.
And I used to be embarrassed having to ask people, like, do you have this in a such and such size, or where can I find this? The worst is thing I have, and they were like, oh, well, we only carry such and such in store, but you can go online. See?
Again, the exclusion. I mean, just the exclusion of it all. And I mean, and then I'm like, because I remember that, like, I would get someone like, oh, you can only get the bigger sizes online. And I'm like, so I can't even try it on. I have to buy it online, get it shipped to my house. Can't even try it on. And I'm like, no. And I would refuse to buy. Like, I mean, obviously there's exclusive stores that you can only find online. You can order and whatnot. But I'm like, but if I know, like, an only, I'm like, I should be able to try it on. Like, how do you not? But I want to circle back to the pricing of plus size clothing.
Hell expensive.
Because I'm like, the same shirt on Old Navy. Because I've done this. I love just buying some Old Navy shirts when they go on sale because they're cheap prices and all this stuff. the same shirt, fabric, same. Like I'm like, it costs way more on the plus size section
Yeah.
than it does on the regular. And I'm like, why am I paying? Sometimes it can be $10 more. And I'm like, why? Like, make me understand. It's not, and don't come back with me like, we have to use more fabric. That's a,
And that's
y'all
exactly
use cheap fabric anyway. So,
cheap fabric, and then Lord, I hate to say it, but they probably have people over here and they're not paying folks enough who over here putting designs together. So that's already fucked up anyway. But yeah, oh definitely. That's, you know, they will say that. You know, it takes more fabric. It takes $10 whole worth more? Damn.
I'm like, it just makes me so upset because I already know the price is already marked up from what it should be anyway.
Exactly.
Because we already know that. I mean, even we know that in any industry, clothing, electronics, you're just paying basically for like brand names and some things. But I'm like, and it just baffles me because I know like I'll go to like any department store and I'm like looking, and then the pricing is just off. I'm like, why does it cost so much more on similar dresses? Why is it so much more on things that just shouldn't be? And I'm like, why am I, as a plus size woman, being charged more?
Because they want to control you.
They want to control me.
Make you feel bad.
I feel bad. Then they wonder why I eat a whole sleeve of cookies. Like, y'all make me feel bad.
People feel bad. And this is again, like I was saying this in one, I think it was maybe both of the videos. Like, this is why I don't enjoy going to stores, looking for clothes. And like you said, you know, it's so much so now that like, because of all the times like in a store, they're like, well, we don't carry this, it's online. And then of course, you know, I'm like an online shopper anyway. Then COVID happened. So this just make me I just ship my shit to my house and try it on.
Yeah.
I just do. I just ain't got time for it. I'm much more comfortable. I can go at my own pace, and the shit doesn't fit right, I send it back. But it's like this whole loops and hoops you have to jump through. Yeah. Like, just get decent clothes, you know, and even like, you know, like work clothes too. Like if you want to look at like a nice pair of slacks or like a blouse. It's just like, even that's expensive. Like, cause some of my favorite brands, I'll say, I love Loft, but I believe Loft is actually they will, or they already did discontinue. Like, I don't know if they're going to discontinue plus sizes, but they're going to discontinue like the way they advertise for it or something.
Gotcha.
So it's not going to be the same. And I was like, see, and I actually, because Loft is always having a sale. So I'm like,
yeah,
I've gotten so many nice clothes from there for work. But now I'm like, so y'all talking about whatever y'all gonna do with plus size? I ain't got time.
No, and it's always interesting because I know like when you go to like, say like a Target or anything like that, and you look at the clearance sections and even the clearance pricing.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is it that the skinny people or the normal sizes, whatever you want to call them, get like things for like $5, $3, and I'm over here paying like, oh, it's on sale for $25. It's clearance, and I'm like, what? Like, I can't get anything that's $5.
I know. I want a $2 t-shirt. Okay.
I'm like, it is rare for me to find something that's clearance and it's at like a price point where it's like, it's a clearance price point. It isn't like a sale price point. Because I'm like, I think the lowest I've ever seen things go is maybe $10.
Okay.
That I've seen. And some, like, once in a while, they're like unicorns. You'll find those $5 things.
I'm thinking even at Torrid, which is pricey anyway. But even their clearance and sale, it can still be up there. I mean,
and then when you go to stores like Ross or TJ Maxx, their plus size clothing,
it is just not attractive. You know, it's again, like, it's just, again, like they have, or like, if it's not, what is it, like paisley or the fucking stripes we're talking about, like they have these big
flowers.
Oh, they do have flowers.
Flowers. I'm like, don't get me wrong. Some blouses and shirts that have flowers can be really nice, but plus size flowers, I don't know if they just like
I don't
like
want a whole
oh
shirt with sunflowers on
let's
it.
just distract them.
Yeah. Like who wants a fucking shirt with sunflowers on it?
Are you trying to distract them from my fatness? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, but honey, if you do go like to those places like Ross or like Burlington, like you said, Marshalls, you know, you like you said, it's a unicorn. Every move, you might find something really nice, really
Yes.
cute. But like if you're going there particularly to look for something, you probably won't find it. You're gonna have to find it.
You have to go on a day where you're just browsing.
Just bullshitting, you know, you ain't trying to find anything.
But if you're trying to find something specific that you're like, this is what I have in mind, you're not you know where you'll find it in the regular sizes section in the miss, and you're like, that's what I'm looking for.
Mhm.
And then you're not gonna find it in the plus size.
But even if you like find something there, you notice because like again, they not supply and demand is not adding up. Oftentimes, like they don't have enough for the big girls, but they have so much of like the smaller sizes. Like 20 different shirts. Where if you look at the bigger sizes, maybe 2 shirts, or you know, everything's been picked over. So it's like, they may have some of the bigger sizes, but it may not be true. Because everybody has, all the big girls have gone for it because we don't have nothing.
That's so true. Like I know that I've gone and seen something at a smaller size, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they have it in like, let me see if they have it in my size.
No.
Gone.
No.
And I'm like, I could lie to myself and say, I'm gonna lose some weight. I'll just
pep talk.
You're like, this will motivate me to lose some weight. I've gone away from that thinking because it just puts way too much pressure on me, and I just refuse to buy it now.
Like it is so much pressure, but it's just I've just have noticed that because I'm like, and even online shopping, you know, for some of the stores now that have like Anthropologie is another one. I love Anthropologie. But I mean, Anthropologie is expensive in general. Like it don't matter if you're plus, skinny, whatever. If you're getting canceled,
it's expensive.
They're just expensive. But I think they have nice quality stuff. Now they have I don't know how recently, but they have recently added like a plus size clothing, and they have nice stuff. But I was actually just on there. I'll tell you this week actually because they're having a sale. You know, it's almost Labor Day. Everybody's having sales, and they have their cashmere sweaters. I think they just rolled out, and some of the colors I was looking at, the more pretty colors, like the more vibrant, like kind of like a rust orange or like a pear or a lilac. My size is gone. All they had black.
They always have black.
Like a beige, maybe like a beige brown, which is cool. You know, I love the basic earth tones, but I wanted, you know, like
that rustic orange is beautiful. Whenever I find that, I always, oh my gosh,
such a beautiful color. I mean, unless they have recently restocked Anthropologie, I may be wrong. Y'all might have recently restocked, but they were like, it's my sizes wasn't.
Plus sizes are usually the ones that go the quickest on the cute things because, like you mentioned, the supply and demand just don't match.
Don't match, man.
Ah, so true.
It's gone. Even like when you're looking at shoes, because I know like I have a wider foot.
Yes.
To get cute shoes,
it's hard.
It's really hard. Like, I mean, of course, there's the Torrids and places like that too. But like, I look at my friend who have not wide feet, I guess narrow or normal, average, whatever. And I'll see them with cute shoes, and I'm like, oh, where did you get that from? And then like I'll go to the website, of course, and I think most stores, at least I know, whether it's online or you're in person, they don't really have like wide. Like that. They very seldom you see a wide unless you're at like, you know, a Torrid or like a specialty store, and that's what they do. But like an example, like a really close friend of mine, she got these beautiful clogs that she's gonna wear at her wedding. Like for I think the engagement party. Beautiful clogs. And I was like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. I went to the site and I'm scared to order the shoes. Like they have it in my size, but I know it's gonna be narrow or average. And I don't even, and like, these are not cheap clogs. They're beautiful, but not cheap. I don't want to spend a lot of money just to have to try to return
And I'm
those
like,
because I know that my foot will not be able to fit.
yeah.
It sucks.
And when you do find a shoe that's wide, they're usually sold out.
They're gone. They're sold out.
Yeah. Do better, fashion industry. Do better.
We do need to do better because this is like, and we're in 2021, honey. We're almost in 2022. And
Yeah.
we have evolved in so many ways. Obviously, as we just saw with Texas, we're not that evolved sometimes.
We're not that evolved. Sometimes we go back.
Yeah, and trying to send us back. But still, this is the most advanced we've ever been in time. And it's just like, again, that supply and demand thing, it's just baffling to me because there's such an industry. Like big girls want to wear nice, attractive clothing, shoes across the board. I know we're going to talk about jewelry. Like we want nice stuff too, and it's like it sucks. And whether and even like we're saying, even if you have the money to buy these things, sometimes you just can't find it. Yeah. And then you don't have the money, shit. It's still hard. So it's like you can't win for losing.
Nope.
You really can't.
You brought up the jewelry and I mean, I love rings. Yeah. I love rings, and it's really hard to find rings that fit just my fingers in general. Like I can find for like my ring fingers, like those I can find easily. But if I'm trying to find just some other rings so people don't think I'm engaged all the time.
That's okay. Like, yes, I'm engaged.
It's engaged to ghosts out here. I'm like, it's so hard. Like, it's just hard. I'm like, and you can't find anything cute. There's nothing cute out here. Even when you go to like a small, business where you go to Etsy or something, their sizes tend to stop at like 10. I think that's probably the biggest size I always see is 10. And I'm like, what happened to the other ones? Like, 11, 12, 13, these other ones. I was like, and it's just this, it makes me so sad because I'm like, there's so many cute rings that I would love to buy, and I can't. And I've said it, I'm gonna start making my own rings. I just gotta watch some YouTubes on like how to do this on my own because it just frustrates me. Like, just like with everything else that we just talked about, it frustrates me because I'm like, why can't we be valued enough to be thought up by these other industries? Because there's this whole market, like, and if you're into making rings and you're watching this, consider making bigger sizes because I will buy. Like, I will buy. I mean, I'm still gonna figure out how to make my own because I'm gonna end up in like HSN or QVC or something selling some of these rings. But I really, and it's not just rings, like even necklaces. There's some really cute necklaces out there, but they don't fit my neck.
Girl, I hate that. And now like the trend, and like I'm trying it. Like the little dainty necklaces are in now. Like the ones like the layering, and I'm like,
you're choking me.
But you mean like, and my neck rolling over the necklace, and I'm like, this is not what is on. This is not on Pinterest. I don't like this.
It's not how I envisioned it.
Not. And I will say, as far as ring size, the fact that I know, and still to this day, I still see maybe some companies go up to make an 8 or a 9. But like you said, on Etsy, they go up a few sizes bigger. But like I see these rings that come through, and like I love signet rings, which I have one here that I got from Etsy, and there was because I had been searching for signet rings. Of course, Instagram is showing me now, and signet rings, and they show me this one company. It was beautiful. Like you can get a monogram, or if you have like a crest or things like that. I was so excited, and it was decently priced, only like a 7 or 8. And I'm like, this is this is such a good point with like rings in particular, because I really don't shop for rings for that reason. I'll shop for I am an earring person. That's probably my thing. And I'll do necklaces too. But like rings, I think I've intentionally blocked it out. I don't shop for them because they're normally not in my size.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's only 2 sites that I'll buy rings from. and I've ran out of options because they don't have any more on my size. And like, and it's very specific brands that
Mhm.
only go up to the size. Like I don't have no problem. I use a size 11 or 12. I
Mhm.
kind of vacillate with that. But it's very specific brands that go up to those sizes on there. And I've seen all the rings that they have, and there's only certain ones that I'll buy. And I bought the ones that I liked, and now I just have to wait until whatever new seasons come up to see if anything else comes up, because I'm like, I have no options.
You don't. And it's
This is depressing me.
it's depressing. I'm gonna sip some water. Both of us.
That's not like vodka in here or something.
No, they can't see mine. They can't see mine, but it is water. It is water.
Water. But it's just, it's just frustrating because like I would love to get necklaces. Like, but I think I've shied away because the necklaces I like never come in the size that I would want. And I just got frustrated and I stopped
It's funky.
just
Right.
looking. And I'm like, I'm done. Earrings, I don't. I never got my ears pierced.
That's right.
So I don't want, you know what? If I get married, these ears are gonna get pierced.
You should. You should, yeah. But they have clip on. I have never done a clip on, so I don't know
I
how
just
they
feel
work.
like it's gonna hurt.
I mean, I could see because it pinches the
I
skin.
mean, if somebody is watching this and knows of like some clip-ons that don't hurt, let me know. Put in the
Yeah,
comments, DM me on Instagram or something.
yeah, because that is true. Like,
I just feel like it would hurt.
and there are some cute ones that I've seen, like that are clip on. But I always wonder that too, because even though my ears are pierced, they're cute. I'm like, they're cute. I'll wear it. I don't care, pierced, not pierced. But that's it is a good point because some of them I always wonder if they do hurt. But yeah, I stick with earrings. That's my jam. Even when I worked at a trying to think how to put it. If I worked at a higher end designer store
Huh.
for a while, and when I worked there, I love the jewelry. Like I love this brand. I'm not gonna call them out right now, but I love this brand. I love their stuff. I love their handbags and even their clothes. It's me. And I was so happy to work there, even though it was only for a little while. But they always are rolling out new jewelry,
Yeah.
and they have such pretty rings. I just say
You just skip them.
I stayed clear of it because even the clothing, excuse me, I think now they might go up to a 16 or an 18, maybe. But even that, the fabric sometimes just doesn't sit right. It's not going to sit on me. Yes, like if my size is not going to look the same as a size 4, yes, I know that. But it's not comfortable, and I feel like I'm hunched up in it. I'm like, this is cute, and we could get like quote unquote free clothing or free items like a few times a year. And it's exciting because you have this free designer clothes, but at the same time, I'm like, I would always be on the fence. I was like, 'cause I know I'm gonna have to go like looking through inventory to find my size. If they have my size, then I got to try it on, and then I just disappointed because I'm like, it's such a pretty, nice dresses that just didn't fit. I will say this. So I actually got 2 dresses from there that were pretty close to my size. And what I had ended up doing, I got them tailored. That was the first time in my life I had ever done anything tailored. But I love those 2 dresses so much, and they were close enough in my size where it didn't take too much extra fabric to get them kind of taken out. And it was worth it. But again, I had to go through all this trouble, and that wasn't cheap because
It's not cheap.
Getting your stuff tailored is not cheap, honey. I mean, tailors out there make good money. So,
Yes.
and to get it tailored, yeah, but it was worth it. But it's again, like that's not something I want to do all the time. Is if like I have to get a designer dress and get it tailored just to make it fit.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be the norm. I think it it makes, it just, and I'll say it again, it's frustrating. Like, it just makes most plus size women just feel frustrated because you have to spend extra money, you have to go through all these hoops to get something, and you can never find the cute things that everyone else kind of sees and gets. And I know that we're on the next episode of this, and probably the one that will wrap up on this, like, probably get into the medical thing, but I feel like it's this whole idea of like, well, if you want the cute things, you just got to lose the weight so you can fit into it.
Yes.
And it's
Bullshit.
this idea of like, no, like, you know how hard it is to lose weight to begin with. Like, it's not an easy journey. But that shouldn't be the answer. Like, it shouldn't be the industry being like, well, just lose the weight and then you can fit into all these other clothes that we make, whether it's, the Targets of the world, or whether it's, the fashion houses, it's, these other ones. And it's like, no, like, you should cater to us. I don't have to change anything of myself to be there. If I don't find it necessary, if I don't need it, whatever, like, it's this thing. And it's like, but it goes back to controlling this narrative, controlling this section of women, and keeping us in this perpetual cycle of like, well, just lose the weight, or just, be happy with what you got. Like, those are your options, that's it. And I hope there's more women out there who are opening their boutiques, are designing the clothes for plus size women. And I know it's going to take a while. I know it's going to take a while for it to come to fruition, because it's going to take money. It takes time, it takes a lot of effort. You have to think about the different body types when it comes to plus size. Because a lot of times people when they think plus size, they look at this hourglass person, and I'm like, that's, like we mentioned earlier, like you mentioned it, like, that's not it. Like, a lot of us have, we have bellies, we have, our arms are flat. Like, I hate when I try a shirt and it's so tight around my arms, and I'm like, and everything else looks great, and I'm like, why?
Yes. Oh Lord, that just makes me think about shirts that I've tried on where it's just the arms have been too tight, or like I needed more up here, my shoulders are all crunched.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay.
And it falls nice. That's the one thing I hate, because it just falls nice, and I'm like, I can't. I can't do it. Like, I can't wear it. And it's like, I'm like, who are you using as models?
Yeah, who are you using as the models for this? That's why I was like, I really think out here in these fashion houses, honey, they are not using women that look like you and I. No. Obviously,
I think they're just like, we'll just make it bigger. Like, whatever they design, we'll just make it bigger, and we'll call it a size
whatever.
20.
But it's so much more that goes into that. And I think, again, like, I just really think it's so much money that could be made in that. That's like, people are just not, I mean, I think in terms of like the higher ends, there's so much that could be made. But then, like I said, I think some of these designers, these fashion houses, that's not who they want to cater to.
They don't want to.
It's not, they don't care, that's the way that, that's how they look at fashion. And if you do look at some of these fashion magazines, I think now some of them, because of everything that's happened, some of them now maybe are starting to show women that look different, not just straight up and down, but they still not, they're not where they should be at all. We got a long way to go. Like you said, it's a long way to go.
Like their idea of being inclusive is having women who might have like a bigger bust or a bigger butt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
That not all of us plus size women have those two things. We might have one, we might have the other, we might not have neither.
We don't have either. Some of those girls, and this is me, but some of those models out there, none of them they don't have any of it. They don't have nothing. They just like as flat as it comes, front, back, stomach flat. It's just they ain't got nothing. again, that's what some of them go for that. But like, yeah, it is because there are so many different body types of women. Like, kind of, like we're always talking about. There's so many shades of Latinos. There's so many shades of Black people. They're just we come in all shapes and literally sizes and colors. We are not one size fits all. And even if you want to talk about makeup, like makeup has come a long way. We're not talking about that as it relates to big girls, but like if we talk about it in terms of like makeup used to just be geared towards white women, and then like you hear stories of like actresses and women, maybe even your great grandmothers, like having to mix makeup together to get it to fit their skin tone, So that's come a long way. But I mean, we still have such a way to go. And I think because that sort of high fat, there's such a hold on that. There's such a hold on how they want high fashion to look. And yeah, that's one mold that hasn't been broken through yet. No.
Hopefully it'll be a mold that gets broken sooner rather than later.
I hope so, because my pockets can't afford some of this. And
I would like to look cute. Like, I even think about, you think about wedding dresses. I remember I've gone, wedding dress shopping with some, people who are plus size. Mm-hmm. The options out there,
I can only imagine. I have not.
Ugly. I mean, just plain out ugly. I'm sure maybe it's evolves in the last time I've seen wedding dresses. But there's always a certain design when it comes to plus size. Like it's the same.
It is in terms of dresses, like the wedding dress. I know you're talking about. All the big girls with the same type of design. I know what you're talking about. Same.
And I'm like, I don't like it. If I ever get married, I'm gonna have to get that wedding dress just designed from scratch. Like I don't, because none of these are.
Yeah.
None of these, unless I end up, losing weight. And that's the thing. I mean, obviously, everybody talks like you have to lose weight. People, brides are always trying to lose weight. Like, I want to. Okay, like it's stressful enough that I have to plan all this. Well, I won't be planning it. We all know who. Somebody else will be planning.
You'll show up.
Like show up. But the one thing I do care about is my wedding dress, because I'm like, I'm gonna have two, but we won't get into it. But like it's one of those things where I know I'm not gonna, what I have in my head is not what I can find out there, because they're not designed for plus size women. Oh, and if they are, they're the same design, just different.
They ugly. It's funny.
And I'm like that's not flattering. Like
it's not at all. And it's supposed to be, an important day for many women is their wedding gown. And big girls want to look good too. Like you want to, you want your hair and makeup, your dress to look good. And I'm in the same boat with you. I think I might just have to have one made for me, or get like a simple one and have it tailored, kind of start from scratch. Because the ones, I have so many different sort of visions what I want for my wedding, but I think kind of what I want, you don't typically see with bigger girls, like the little skinny mini girls. And I'm like, well, I want that. That's what I want. This I'm getting for my wedding, but it's so true. I can't, oh my God.
Oh my God. I think we can go on and on.
We really could. I guess we have to wrap this up and move on to the next one, y'all.
But I'm sure at some point we'll come back to this, because there's just so many things, and maybe who knows, maybe in a year or two things will change, but I don't know. I'm hopeful, but if y'all have anything to share with us, let us know in the comments. But
that's
final thoughts, Martina.
You said, wait, that's kind of early. You said the next year or two. You're real hopeful.
I'm trying.
Optimism in you. I'm the pessimist, right? I'm like, girl, I don't know.
Like maybe in 20 years.
Maybe shit. I hope in 20 years, man. I hope so. 1 or 2 would blow my mind. If they can just keep up with supply and demand, that would be a start. Like that, that's just scratching the surface. But yeah. we are going to wrap up this one, and we will be right back,
Yeah.
and talk about how big people are seen in healthcare and like medicine. What does that mean, and what does that feel like? So thank you all for listening and watching. Comment, feedback is great, and we will
Yeah.
see y'all soon.
Bye, y'all.